Okay, this is my 1995 Z28, and what I'm going to attempt today is changing the tumbler for the ignition, and we'll see how that goes. So first of all, what I'm going to do before I start anything is disconnect the battery, because as far as I know, I have to remove the steering wheel cover there, and there's an airbag beneath, and I do not want to deploy that. So the best thing to do to prevent that from happening is to disconnect the battery. So that is the first thing that we'll do. Okay, so as you can see here, I removed the battery from the car totally, so we don't have any accidents with the airbag going off while I'm removing the steering wheel cover. And for those of you who want to know, the engine is a 350 LT1. Okay, this is the old key system here that I'm going to take out. Right, problem is, if I get the key in the lock position, I can't pull it out. And lately I've also been having some issues while driving the car that the engine stalls on me. So I researched it a bit and found out that a lot of the problems can be in this key system. Now, I've had problems with this VATS ignition system before. The problem was fixed. Believe it or not, a lot of wiring was burnt out in the steering console, so that had to be replaced. But once the key was put back in the ignition, it just wouldn't come out again. And then, like I said as well, you know, when you're driving, the car just stalls out on you. So here is the brand new one that I bought from the dealership. You know, the key is in it, also with the you can see the resistor there and the key. That's part of the VATS ignition system. Yeah, not a cheap object to buy, but something that I needed. So anyway, now I'm just gonna try to resume getting this steering wheel cover off. So okay, so as you can see here, I removed the cover off the steering wheel so I could access the bolt inside. Do believe I'm going to need a wheel puller to pop that off. So anyway, the next step that we have to do, well, first of all, let me say, in order to get this off, you can actually see the bolts here, 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 and here. And you have to access those from the back of the steering wheel. You could use one of those 6-sided screwdrivers, but what I used is a 5/32 Allen key, and that was good enough for me to loosen and remove the bolts in order to get this cover off with the airbag in it. So in order to actually remove this wire, what you have to do is pop this out, this little blue clip. Okay, so you pull that little blue clip out. We'll put it in a safe spot so we don't lose it. And then after that, you just kind of, you know, take this clip and squeeze down on the top. Okay, just bear with me a sec. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand while I'm holding a phone here. Okay, so there. So anyway, we remove the clip. So now the whole airbag and horn assembly here, I'll just put this over the passenger seat for now. Okay, so the next step is actually going to be removing the steering wheel. So I'm going to have to go get my socket set, type of wheel puller, and yeah, we'll see what we can do from there. Okay, as you can see, I got the steering wheel off. What I did, I made my own wheel puller here. I got the idea from some kid off the internet who did the same thing. He made a little piece as a wheel puller to pull that piece off. And so basically, that's what I did. To pull the steering wheel off, I made my own wheel puller. Here is the steering column that I needed to get into. So we'll see where we go from there, and see if I can get that tumbler out. Anyway, on to the next segment. Gonna put the camera on pause now so I can finish this and give you some more instructions on how to do it. Okay, here it is 8 days later. I had to order a steering wheel lock plate tool. That's why it's 8 days later. It's made by a company called Lyle. So here's the package. So if you go to order one of these, and you probably will if you don't have one, you're going to need this tool. Here in Canada, I paid like $30 for it. Just give them that Lyle number in the top right-hand corner of the package there when you call an auto parts store, so they got a good idea what you're talking about. And as well as call it a steering wheel lock plate tool. Some people didn't. At the auto parts store, I don't know why they didn't know what it was called, but they had no idea when I said this is what I needed. So anyways, getting on with it here, so I ordered this tool, and it has a collar on it here, and plus this horseshoe shaped thing, plus there's a nut on here, and this bolt threads into this collar. This collar piece actually threads onto the end of your steering column. At the end of the steering column is threaded, so this threads on, and then what you do, you tighten this nut down, and what it does, it pushes the lock plate, which is this piece here, pushes the lock plate back, so you can pull out this little ring here. Like, I already popped it off, but anyway, so what you do, you compress this plate down. There's a spring behind there, and then after you compress it down, you pull this little ring off. See if I can get a closer shot of it here. Pull this little ring off here. You're going to have to pry it off with a screwdriver. It is a little bit of a pain to do, but it's not that bad. So yeah, just pry that off. And then once you pry that off, you loosen your tool. And, then you proceed to remove the lock plate and the spring and, all the pieces underneath in order to get to the switch here. So I'm going to put the camera on pause while I remove it, and then we'll get into the next segment of it here. Okay, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the last segment, but it's always a good idea. Well, I find, modern technology, it's always a good idea to use your cell phone or, digital camera. Take pictures like me, or make a video, while you go along, so you can remember how you took everything apart, and so that way you got a pretty good idea of how it goes back together. Alright, so anyway, like I said, I removed the lock plate here. Okay, so like I said, there's little teeth on the inside there that you can see. They just slide on over this vertical thread that's going on here. So yeah, anyway, so then of course below that is the spring, right? So basically, if you're really strong, you might want to skip the lock plate compressor, but I wouldn't suggest it. Anyway, so that's okay. So we have to remove the spring. So the next thing we're going to do is get into removing all these plastic pieces. Now, I would suggest taking some care with this because there's a lot of small pieces here, and you don't want to be losing anything. So I'm going to put the camera on pause, take it apart slowly. Alrighty, after screwing around with everything here, I had to pull this off over this. I thought maybe I might have to try something else, but I was able to get this off. So the next thing I need to do is figure out how I'm going to get this damn thing out of here. So what I'm going to have to do now is probably get a star head screwdriver for this little bolt right there, and back that out, and then see where we go from there. Okay, so what I got done now, I had to remove this little screw out of here, and well, actually this one, right there. And what that one does, it makes it easy to pull this out. See, this is ready to come out now. But I'm not going to take it out just yet because the orange wire that runs in here is attached to this, just like it is on this one here. The orange wire, see? Okay, so I know where the other end of the orange wire is down there. So what I'm going to do is attach a piece of string to the wire with some tape. And hopefully when I pull the wire out, I can get the string to come out with it, attach a new wire to that, and pull that down through. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so anyway, I have the new tumbler with the new key in here. It's not attached yet. I still have to put the bolts and everything in, but it is now the evening, and I don't think I'm going to progress anymore. But yeah, the strange thing was this orange line here, which isn't attached to anything. This is part of the VATS system. When I looked underneath my dash, somebody cut it off, and I guess at some point they probably just bypass the whole system altogether. So basically, it's just a regular key is what it is now. An expensive regular key. And yeah, everything seems to be working okay. So when I go to turn it, of course I'm going to get some lights coming on, and and signal light, which I can't seem to shut off because, well, basically I have to put the steering wheel back together. And as you notice, the airbag light is on because, well, there is no airbag. Anyway, so we'll turn the ignition, and the car starts. So yeah, I guess we have success. Now I'm going to go in and review the video, make some edits, and post it online. So hopefully, this will help you out.